So interesting about your burial ground story in England,
Ooh, connections?
because that's what I'm talking about today. So my story today comes to us from my Maori friend down in New Zealand.
Ooh, okay.
And this is something that happened to him and his family. I want to preface with saying to New Zealand and to Maoris everywhere, sorry for my pronunciation. All right, so this is back in 2003, and my friend Zion is about 12 years old. So he has his memory of these occurrences. He's also talked to his father, who filled in a lot of the holes in his memory or story. So in 2003, they lived in a remote northern beach in Coromandel, New Zealand. So his dad, he was in the Department of Conservation. He was a Department of Conservation ranger, and he kind of oversaw this area. Now, this beach, it was a pristine, sheltered bay, and it was called,
Waikawau, one or the other.
Waikawau Bay. And he sent me a picture. It's this beautiful bay. It's super secluded. It's about 1.5 miles long, I believe. And at the northern end, there's these dunes. Other than that, on the south end, that's where everyone surfs. They sunbathe. They swim in the water. It's perfect.
Dope.
So in the summer, it's nice and everything, and in the winter, the tourism basically stops. There's no one there. So this is where they lived for a season in their life. Now, on the north side, I mentioned there's these dunes, and a section of the north side of the beach had actually been roped off because they had recently found a ton of bones in the dunes. And the bones were most likely belonged to the Maori warriors. And so, like most indigenous cultures, burial sites are super sacred. DJ, you know about that with like Tonga. I don't know. My Tongan friend was just like, don't mess with burial sites at all. They're very revered. You shouldn't disturb them and hold them sacred.
I think having like heavy emphasis on family, especially in Polynesia, ohana,
Yep.
and whatnot. But there's just a huge respect for those who came before you, even if they're not here anymore. So I think that adds to it.
Yep. So like I said, in the summer, it's super busy. There's people everywhere. In the winter, it's basically dead. There's no one there. And my friend always liked that. He said there was no tourists and no weird Europeans. And I could just imagine like some weird old European men in Speedos just
Or no Speedo.
just lounging.
Leathery skin,
I feel. So this is in June 2003, and this is New Zealand's winter. So it's their slow season.
Yep.
Basically, no one's there. And one day, a Maori family shows up to camp in this sheltered bay. So first day, they set up their tents. They cook their food. They're having a good time. Pretty uneventful. Second day, it's getting later in the evening, so it's probably like 8:30. And the father of the family comes up to Zion's dad. And he says, hey, have you seen my wife at all? Has she checked in? Have you seen her? She went on a walk earlier and we can't find her. So Zion's dad says, no, we haven't, but I'll go look for her. So he looks all around the campsites, doesn't see her, jumps on his four-wheeler and starts to go up the coast looking for her. And as he's going north up the shore, he sees a body lying in the sand.
Oh, no.
Rolls up to the body, and it's the wife. And she's seemingly just taking a nap, which is weird because it's dark. It's about 9 o'clock now.
So she's going to bed for the night.
And it's pretty cold out. So he pulls up, wakes her up. She looks at him pretty confused, and he says, hey, your whole family's been looking for you. You okay? She says, what time is it? And he says, it's 9 p.m. And her eyes get wide, and she looks really confused. So he says, jump on. Your family's at my home. They're waiting for you worried. Let's go home. So he takes her back to the house. Both families are there. She's pretty shooken up, super cold. So they get her into a warm shower, get her some food pretty fast. She's starving. So a little after that, she kind of has had some time to process, and she starts talking to Zion's mom. And we're going to call this lady Maria. You know, Zion's mom's like, hey, what happened? You remember anything? Kind of hesitantly at first, but ultimately she opens up and says, I was walking down the beach when I saw about a dozen people walking towards me in the distance. And I thought it was weird because I hadn't seen anyone out all day. As they got closer, they're walking directly towards me. I realize all of them are men. They get a little bit closer, and I can tell they're carrying torches. And all of them are Maori men. She was like rooted to the ground with fear. They're coming closer, walking directly towards her. And she realizes they're all wearing traditional Maori clothing from back in the day. They get closer, and she can tell some of them are limping, some of them are injured, until she can see some of them are missing eyes, some of them have huge gashes in them, some of them are missing ears, one was missing a nose, and what seemed to be like the leader had his scalp removed and blood coming down his face. At this point, they are close to her, walking directly towards her. And out of fear and out of not knowing what else to do, she sort of crouches and almost like sits on the ground. These men walk right up to her and then past her, almost as if she wasn't there. And she watches them walk up the dunes and disappear over the top of the dunes. Next thing she remembers is a man on a four-wheeler saying, hey, are you okay?
Oh, gosh. Wait, and what time was she walking along the beach initially?
4 p.m.
Damn, that's a 5-hour blackout, bro.
It's almost like night marchers, dude.
You gotta crouch down and piss yourself.
No. And these are Polynesians. I am small compared to most of these Polynesians. They're like skinwalkers who work out. That's what these night
Like,
marchers are.
Yeah. If Skinwalkers had like Mass Gainer Pro, you know?
Yeah, bucked up.
HGH, yeah.
That Vasa membership.
If these skinny boys were not skinny boys,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
They thick boys.
Okay.
Thick walkers.
So Maria's telling this to Zion's mom. She's pretty scared. She tells her, I have no idea how I lost 5 hours. She's genuinely confused. She doesn't recall sleeping at all. Like, she does not remember falling asleep. She said, I don't think it was a dream. It was just simply too vivid. Like, I could see it in, it wasn't a dream. So Zion's mom tells her about the recent discovery of bones and the dunes connection to like a burial site. She says, did you disturb any bones? And Maria says, I can't remember. So then Zion's mom says, well, I've had a few occasions where I've seen spirits as well. And Zion's mom describes what she sees. And more than once on several occasions, she has seen warriors walking with torches up the beach.
So same thing.
So
I don't know if I'm supposed to be like comforted at that point. It's like, you've seen that too, but that also makes it real.
it's like good
For not
and
just
bad.
me, but for you too.
Did she also have any blackouts? Did she say?
Nope. So when Zion's mom has seen them, there's some distinct differences. She says they're walking, or marching rather, in a straight line. None of them are injured. And every time she sees them, so none of them have any brutal injuries, none of them are maimed. And every time she sees them, they usually march up and disappear over the same dunes, exact same place. So Maria does feel better in a way that she doesn't feel crazy. She's validated through this other person's experience that it is true. Maria, her husband, her kids, they end up staying at the home of Zion, my friend. They stay there, they sleep, they wake up in the morning, pack all their stuff up, cut their camping trip short, and they dip. They're out.
That was the right choice.
So Zion's family, he remembers them kind of looking on this experience as interesting and spooky. And he remembers several times catching his mom and dad discussing what they think happened or what's going on, right? And that's the end of that experience. Except 5 years later, so Zion's mom always kind of fancied herself a local historian, right? Always asks the old storytellers, because in Polynesian culture and Maori culture, storytelling is so important. So she would speak with the old storytellers in the village and ask them about what they knew about this area. So she went to the library, did a ton of research on the local history until she came across an account about her bay, the bay where they lived. So she discovers in the mid-1800s, there was a tribe from the north, and they were called the Napuhi. They came from the north in large convoys, and in canoes, war canoes, they would come down the coast in Coromandel, and they would rape, pillage, steal, murder all these small tribes along the coast. And the reason they could do this is they were physically very imposing. They were huge. And actually, Zion, my friend, his lineage is Napuhi, and he is enormous.
Yeah.
He actually sent me a photo of me and him on the mission. I look like his 6-year-old child next to him. Anyway, so they would do this. So after so many times, so many years of just being wrecked and demolished by this northern tribe, the tribes along the coast of Coromandel, they go down south to enlist the help of the Ngati Paro. And the Ngati Paro tribe in the south, they were way more equipped to handle this type of warfare, right? This is how he described the Napui. He said they were physically imposing, they were huge, they were the first to get guns, and they basically didn't give a shit about anyone. Anyway, so.
And thus was the mongrel mob.
I didn't say that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so they enlist the Ngati Poro down south, and they wait. So Zion's mom finds a specific account. In this account, another convoy of warring canoes is coming down south, and they come down to wreak havoc on the inhabitants, right? But they're met by the soldiers of the Ngati Poro. A huge battle ensues, and basically all of the Napui are either killed or injured extremely badly. So they begin to retreat back up north on foot, what little is left of the numbers, right? And they get to a bay called
Waikavau.
They get to a bay called that, where they decide they're going to get to these dunes and they're going to hide, they're going to rest and recover. And so they do that. They march up north, they go to these dunes. But little is known to them that there is a small force of the Ngati Poro who think we don't want them to get away. So they follow them on foot up north, up the beach. And they wait until nighttime, until they fall asleep. And what they do is when they fall asleep, they go up into the dunes and they kill them all in their sleep. They finish them off. So as Zion's mother's reading this, many bells are going off in her head. It sounds very familiar. So if I were to ask you, what do you think they saw?
It sounds like the mom saw the Ngati Paro going, and the other woman saw the soldiers,
The Napui.
who were murdered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what Zion says, bro. I don't know how to stitch this story up because there's still some unanswered questions. But if you were to ask me, I think Maria saw the spirits of those wounded raiders walking to what would eventually become their gravesite. And I think my mother saw the Ngati Poro warriors on their way to kill the unsuspecting raiders. I'm not sure why those spirits would still linger, though, possibly as a punishment for their actions or atrocities. I don't know why Maria seemingly passed out and had a vision. I don't even know if the two stories are related. But I do know that back when Maria told us the story, I was both intrigued and shit scared at the same time. He then sent a picture of the bay, dude. This is where he grew up, dog.
Oh my gosh.
So the dunes are like up here.
That's beautiful.
It's super remote, super northern New Zealand. He has some funny stories about this place.
It looks like you got a hike there.
What is it called again?
You find anything?
Yeah, dude. Dude, it's way up north, but like further north than where we went. Because
So for those listeners who don't know, Sean and I actually took a trip to New Zealand like 4 years ago, ran around the North Island, South Island. And so we've been around this place, but we haven't been to this place. Next time I go, I'm visiting Zion, bro.
so
That's sick.
yeah.
But as I was reading this, bro, I thought of the Night Marcher so hard.
I love that. I mean, like Zion said, he didn't know how to stitch this together. But if those stories are related, like both of what they saw stem from the same historical event, that's crazy that they're able to witness both sides. You don't hear a lot about that, I feel like.
Yeah.
You guys are probably right with him. What I thought initially, though, was that the mom or his mom was seeing these soldiers before they died, like an imprint of them before that. And
You
then
mean like before they got attacked or whatever?
before they got attacked, like them just marching single file up into these dunes. And then the other woman saw like them post massacre.
The issue, though, is before the massacre, they would have been going south.
Oh, okay.
So the mom saw them going north, too.
Mom saw them both going north?
Well, the mom saw them going north, and Maria saw them going north.
Okay, I
Because
see what you're
They
saying
would
now.
come down, fight, and then come back up, and they followed.
Okay, I
But,
see
yeah.
what you're saying now, yeah.
But it could be, dude. I don't know. And like he's not supposing to say like this is it, but very interesting that they had both of these visions, these experiences, whatever you want to call it, before their knowledge of that specific history in that area.
I'm curious why they saw the groups that they did instead of like vice versa, you know?
Yeah, bro.
When Maria first hid from the wounded soldiers or spirits, was she out in the open? Like she didn't have time to hide? Like she just like tried to get out of their way? Or did she get to a place where they couldn't have seen her?
Nope. She said she was walking, and the second she saw them, they started walking towards her, and she was frozen with fear. And they were basically walking right up to her until she got so scared she just sort of like crouched, sat on the ground because she didn't know what else to do. And they walked right past her as if they didn't see her. So she's like on a beach, so it's like, you know.
They had to have seen her. I wonder why they just passed her. Like what was their intent of walking right towards her?
I mean, maybe they didn't see her. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they were following their same path.
Yeah, maybe it's just that's what
And she happened
they
to be,
do.
like somehow get in that plane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're just permanently stuck in that walk. Like you hear stuff like that in other like ghost stories, like they're permanently there to play the piano or something. I don't know.
Relive the last few moments before their death or the tragic moment in their life or whatever.
And Zion said, maybe it's a punishment for their atrocities, like because they were coming down not doing nice things, They were stealing, they were raping, they were maiming, murdering.
All the bad things.
Damn.
Yeah, he's talked to me about the Northern Tribe before, and just his stories about how big and vicious. Like he has a distant relative, like a great grandpa, who was supposedly like 10 to 12 feet tall or something, or 8 feet tall, but like Zion's like, I don't know, 7, and his grandpa or great grandpa was like 8, 9 feet tall. Bro, that's terrifying.
That's like King Kamehameha. He's known to be like 8 or 9 feet tall.
I believe it, dog.
Anyway, dude, that's fun. I like the culture behind it.
I love stories from New Zealand. Or
Aotearoa.
yeah,
Oh, there you go.
Chee-hoo, bro.
Shut your mouth.
Chee, bro. Sure,
You good?
That's me today.